Y'all, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Jazwares Pokemon Select Zeraora figure. Zeraora first appeared in Gen 7 of Pokemon, which was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They're known as the Thunderclap Pokemon, and they are an electric-type mythical bipedal feline Pokemon. Supposedly, they're born from an explosion caused by a bolt of lightning striking an erupting volcano, which sounds amazing. Apparently, it can absorb electricity from outside sources and can create powerful magnetic fields that allow it to levitate and move at high speeds. Its claws can tear opponents apart due to flying sparks that can cause electrocution somehow. That's how that works. They're weak to ground type moves, and all of this information has been taken from Bulbapedia. So the box art on the Pokemon Select figures are pretty much a window box and some grayed out versions of the Pokemon and some other Pokemon illustrations, and that's all fine and good, but we're not here to talk about that. So let's get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Zeraora. All right, so fresh out the box, this thing looks fantastic. I mean, it looked cool in the box, but it looks even better out of the box. It's got a nice heft to it, and I don't know, I just find it very striking, if you will. The colors just pop on this thing, and I'm very taken with this. This is a really cool design, and yeah, this is a really neat figure. It has a considerable amount of heft to it. I think a lot of that actually comes surprisingly from the bin detail. It's got like this sturdiness to it, so it is pliable, but it is very stiff, and yeah, it's got some weight to it, which really adds to the, I don't know, for me at least, the legitimacy of the figure, so it doesn't feel just like a wisp of something like paper thin or whatever. It gives it that chunkiness, at least in weight, and that's really cool. And I think it helps balance the figure out quite a bit aesthetically and design wise, but also just, you know, in just being there with like counterweight and all that stuff. Nevertheless, it's there and it's cool, and yeah, the yellow on this is really neat. I like it a lot. I'm not really brushed up on my color names, but it looks sort of like a pastel yellow, and I really like it because that goes really well with the light sort of pastel blues that are accented on throughout the figure, and it makes the figure pop. The detail in the figure is neat. It's got a lot more spikes than you would think. It's kind of triggering that thing where you're like, whoa, this thing's got a lot of sharp edges, so I kind of need to be cautious when handling it. They're not super sharp, but regardless, it's got some pokey stuff and some pokey things, especially on the back. And then the detail on the feet is really neat. It's not anything to write home about, but it is a nice little touch that keeps the foot from just being like a blob of plastic and then just painted, and it's, you know, it just looks way better than, I don't know, like some Marvel Legends figures that they're just foot and boot is just, that's it, there's nothing there, it's just a solid piece of plastic. But my favorite thing are the paws. The paws are just big and chunky, but like they have something that I'm normally not a fan of in any capacity, and that is articulated fingers or toes. I'm not sure what you would call them on this type of Pokemon, but they have some articulation to them. Mostly it's to bend them in to maybe cause a fist, or like not retract the nails, but the actual fingers to bring them in, and then you can extend them out quite a bit. And I just realized too that you can twist them a little bit, so they've got a little bit of a more articulation in there than I had previously thought. At least the outside ones do. I'm not sure if the inside ones feel a little tight, so I don't want to risk breaking those. But yeah, but that's still pretty neat. The only negative thing that I can find so far, fresh out the box from this figure, is that on mine, at least, where the shoulder meets the arm, the joint there, which is kind of like a peg, I think, it's a little loose. And it's only on the right arm. The left arm seems to be holding pretty well and not having as much trouble with the weight of the paw, because it's considerably large compared to the frame, the arm frame of the figure. It's not the end of the world, and it would probably be an easy fix if it did break, but yours might not have this issue. It might just be mine, so your mileage may vary. Otherwise, I'm very taken with this figure and really excited to get to this review. So the Pokemon Select figures, unfortunately, rarely come with any accessories, if any at all, with the exception of a figure stand / flight stand, and this one comes with a figure stand, and that's always welcome, and I appreciate that because some of these figures are hard to stand. Thankfully, Zeraora is pretty easy to stand on their own, but like still, it's nice to have just in case. So there's that. All right, now let's take a look at the articulation you're going to get out of Zeraora. I hope I said that right. I always have a problem with saying this one right. So starting at the head, they do seem to have 360, you would think, but something is impeding it. I can't really see what is, but it can really only look this far both ways, which is kind of weird. But yeah, they can't really look up very much at all. They can look down quite a bit, which is really cool. And they've got really no side-to-side action. It just pops right back. So very minimal side-to-side. But yeah, that's going to be as far as you can get left to right with the head. Moving on to the shoulders, I do believe you might have 360 at the shoulder, but this one is a little stiff, and this part right here, this chest part, kind of impedes it and helps it, well, keeps it from being able to twist easily. And as you can see, actually, I hope you can see. Let me check. Yep. As you can see, it is separating right here. It looks like it, probably just because the joint is kind of weak. Like this part's not really in there that good. It's probably just a peg. But it's still holding. It's fine. But if I tried to get in there and twist that, it's not really going to do much for me that I can't do by just twisting the elbow down here. But considering that this is all just like one solid, well, not solid piece, but like, you know, it's not like there's any definition necessarily here. But nevertheless, you have 360 at the bicep, I guess is what you'd call that. And then you have double jointed elbows, I guess that's what we'll call it. And so you can get some range of movement there, but you might want to be careful with yours because that is very weak. But yeah, there is all the articulation you're going to get in the arm. But then moving on to the hand, or paw, if you will, there is some articulation in the claws, which I'm not usually a fan of this, but this is actually really well done and really cool. And they don't go out too far, but just enough, and then you can like bring them in, and yeah, that's kind of neat. So then moving on to the waist, there is no waist articulation there. You do get an ab crunch, which coupled with the neck articulation, they can look down quite a bit more. And then they can look, or lean back, I should say, a little bit more too. But yeah, there's not a whole lot going on there. And yeah, this is really tight, so I don't think you can really twist it much more than that. Moving on to the legs, a really good split articulation, or split distance, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Split range, maybe that's the words I was looking for. Then you got no real swivel in the thighs at all, and you get a there's a little bit of twisting there, but it's very tight in the knees. I guess that's what I'm going to call it. But you do have this swivel right here, which also feels very tight, so I'm not going to risk that, but you can twist it a little bit. But it's mostly a joint, and then you also got the joint in the back of the knee as well to bend it in a couple different ways. And then you have the feet, which are on a rocker and also have a joint in there as well. And then the tail is actually bendy. So as you can tell by the 3 air holes there, I'm assuming that's what those are called. And so, yeah, that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much all the articulation you're going to get out of Zeraora. So according to Bulbapedia, Zeraora stands around 4 foot 11 inches tall and weighs around 98 pounds. This figure stands at just over 6 inches tall and weighs around 4 ounces. And now let's see how they measure up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here they are with Jada Toys Mega Man's Elecman and SH Figuarts Senkocho Seiho Common Rider Kuga. Here they are with NECA's Sesame Street Bert and Figma's Link. Here they are with NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Return to New York 4-pack Leonardo and the Jada Toys Street Fighter Cammy. Here they are with Super 7's Donatello and NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 animated series Raphael. Here they are with Hasbro's Marvel Legends Spider-Man and Jazwares Fortnite Beef Boss. Here they are with Mattel's Masters of the Universe Masterverse Triclops and Hasbro's Power Rangers Lightning Collection Dragon Shield Black Ranger. Here they are with the Bandai model kits for Gardevoir and Lucario. Here they are with SH Figuarts Team Rocket. Here they are with Figma's Gloria and SH Figuarts Ash. Here they are with an assortment of smaller Jazwares Pokemon. Here they are with an assortment of larger Jazwares Pokemon. And here they are with Pokemon Select Typhlosion and Greninja. And here they are with DC Collectibles Killer Croc and Marvel Selects Hulk. So I didn't know much about this Pokemon since I didn't play Ultra Sun or Moon. I just, played the first versions, but was aware of it through various Pokemon news and games and whatnot. However, when Jazwares announced they were going to release it in their Select 6-inch line, I got excited because I don't know. I don't know why. Just something spoke to me about this character, and I was just really looking forward to it. As a figure, I think Jazwares did a stellar job bringing this game model to life in plastic form, and I am just very taken with this figure. Something about it, I think it's the colors, to be honest with you. I think there's something about the color scheme and that it's feline-esque, so there may be some crossover with all of that is really resonating with me. But as far as the look, they nailed the look. I think it looks just on point and is really cool and striking and just captures your attention when it's on the shelf. And yeah, I think it looks fantastic. It feels great, like most of the figures in this line. It definitely feels like a toy, but a little bit better than a normal toy, but still has a toyeticness to it and its feel. But, that's not really a slight because that's what it is. But still, I think it's really well done. And especially the tail, the bendy tail is sturdy, but yet pliable. Like you can bend it and everything, but it's holds its shape and gives the character a weightiness that adds to the substantialness of this figure, and really dig that. As always with this line, though, I do wish that they would include some accessories occasionally instead of just the flight stand, which I sincerely appreciate, but I would like to see some game-inspired accessories. But it would be nice to see something else, but, that's whatever. As far as the playability of this figure, it's awesome. It's got a bunch of articulation. It feels and plays like an action figure, mostly because it's bipedal and has longer limbs and everything. So it's got more of a humanoid-esque type articulation to it that lends itself to better playability, given that a lot of action figures generally are humanoid. And so it looks really cool, and it goes extremely well with the rest of the figures from this line, as well as the trainers from Figma and Ash and Team Rocket from SH Figuarts. They just all work really well together, and I love that synergy, and one of the main reasons why I collect this line and enjoy it so much. Now, I do have two complaints. I've kind of mentioned one of them already, and that is that the arms are a little weak. They do the job, but because the paw is so massive in comparison to the thin arms, the joint is having a little bit of a hard time bearing the weight of that. But throughout this whole review and me posing it and moving it around, it's maintained where it was. I don't think it's gotten any worse, but I would like to have seen it be a little tighter and more sturdy. So, just take that into consideration if you're looking at purchasing this figure. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was that I think it's really unfortunate that with all the articulation that they put into this figure, it can't be on all fours. Because I was looking up some images of this figure just to make sure that the in-game model matched and everything like that. And I saw that Pokemon Scale World, which is a line of Pokemon figures, if you don't know, that are like super tiny, but like in scale with one another, so they could make the bigger ones a more appropriate size. Whereas, like, you know, if you tried to have some of the bigger mythical or just bigger Pokemon in general, like in this scale, it would be like just not feasible. So that's kind of their whole gimmick. Well, they made Zeraora, or at least one of the knockoffs did or something. I don't know. But I saw an image of it, and they have Zeraora on all fours, kind of looking basically if it looked like how a cat looks whenever it's on all fours, as opposed to how the action figure looks now as a person looking straight at you, standing up. I wish that it could be able to do both. And I think that would have been really cool. So, you know, that kind of sucks. It would have been cool to have that option. But, you know, at the same time, I don't know how much I would have used it. But it still would have been really cool if they could have done that. But, you know, what we have here is fantastic still. It looks great on the shelf. It looks great with the other Jazwares figures and other Pokemon figures. So, like, if you're a Pokemon action figure collector, then you're definitely going to want to pick this up. If you collect action figures of feline type characters, then you can probably add this to your collection as well. I think that they'll fit right in on that shelf. Or if you collect action figures of characters who have electric powers, then you will not be disappointed picking up this Jazwares Zeraora figure. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. Did you play Ultra Sun and Moon? What do you think of Zeraora? Are you a fan of bipedal Pokemon that start on all fours and then end on two? Or do you hate it? Let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.